Hello everyone, it's James here from the Watford Way. I hope you are all doing well, and today it's my reaction to the surprise news to most people that Nigel Pearson has been sacked as Watford manager, and what a surprise it was. I'm recording this the day after the news broke. The Daily Mail broke it around lunchtime, but nothing official came from the club until about 8:30 in the evening, where they confirmed that he'd left his position with immediate effect, and no further comment would be made, and he didn't even get a thank you in the club statement. So that is a bit surprising, and there is obviously something's gone on behind the scenes, and I'm going to address that in just a second, because Adam Leventhal from The Athletic, he's Watford's journalist for The Athletic, he put out a really good article in the evening, essentially highlighting what had actually happened, and essentially it all stemmed from the West Ham game. So I'm just going to go over a couple of points here that he highlighted in his article, and yeah, look, it's not good, is it? I mean, I think a lot of Watford fans were expecting him to go, but at the end of the season, and not 2 games before the end of the season, especially when Watford still have a chance of staying up, because Bournemouth obviously lost to Southampton. If Aston Villa lose as well, Watford need 1 more point to stay up. So we just need to get a draw, which is a tough ask, out of either Manchester City or Arsenal. But there is, I'd say, quite a significant chance, if Aston Villa lose on Tuesday, that Watford may be a Premier League team next season. Right, so before we move on to Adam Leventhal's article, I just wanted to say the club actually did ask Craig Shakespeare, Nigel Pearson's assistant, if he wanted to take the managerial role up until the end of the season. But apparently he declined that offer, and he left along with Nigel Pearson after the meeting with Filippo Giraldi and Gino Pozzo yesterday, which I applaud him for, because Craig Shakespeare and Nigel Pearson, they kind of come as a pair, so that didn't surprise me when I heard that news. Right, on to Adam Leventhal's article, and wow, what a read that was. If you haven't already, I really suggest you subscribing to The Athletic or getting their 30-day free trial, because I think it's 4 or 5 pages long, and it really details exactly what happened at the West Ham game. And can I just say, there was obviously reports of Adam Messina and Nigel Pearson having some sort of fight in the dressing room, either at half-time or after the game, and a lot of outlets have come out and said that's false, so I do not believe that story. But in terms of the article, apparently Gino Pozzo, Scott Duxbury and Filippo Giraldi were not impressed at the first half against West Ham. They weren't impressed with Nigel Pearson's team selection, and he highlighted in his article specifically the decision to play Tom Cleverley rather than Nathaniel Chalobah, due to Nathaniel Chalobah's obviously is more of a defensive midfielder, and they weren't impressed that Nigel Pearson decided to choose Tom Cleverley rather than Nathaniel Chalobah. They also were not impressed with his substitutions, especially the substitution to bring Abdoulaye Doucouré off, because if you remember back to the West Ham game, Doucouré obviously played a huge part in getting that goal back that Troy Deeney scored, and then I think 5 or 10 minutes later he took Doucouré off, and that just really took the sting out of the game. And also, I also want to touch on this. One other thing he highlighted in his article was that Nigel Pearson hadn't been using some of the younger players in the squad, and the hierarchy at Watford have actually questioned him about that. The likes of Domingos Quina and João Pedro. Obviously, we were on quite a bad run of form after the Leicester game, losing to the likes of Burnley and Southampton, and they questioned why he wasn't using some of them younger players when some of our senior players were not performing. So I do agree with that. I do feel that Nigel Pearson should have maybe utilised João Pedro a little bit more, because he does and still does look promising when he does come onto the pitch. And then reading further down into the article, Adam Leventhal goes on to state that Nigel Pearson actually had a row or an argument with Gino Pozzo after the game, And obviously, in any walk of life, if you're going to have an argument or a very heated debate with your manager or boss, it's not going to end very well. So from my point of view, reading that, I assume the plan was to get rid of Nigel Pearson at the end of the season, and then this row that happened after the West Ham game kind of accelerated that decision. So they've decided to get rid of him now, and yeah, I mean, what a decision that was. I'm sure it came as a surprise to many Watford fans. A few Watford fans were calling for him to be sacked, but I think this is our fourth change this season. We obviously had Javi Gracia for the first 4 games. We then brought in Quique Sanchez Flores, got rid of him. Hayden Mullins took charge of 2 games, didn't he? He took charge of Leicester and Crystal Palace. And then Nigel Pearson's come in, and then we've got rid of Nigel Pearson, and Hayden Mullins and Graham Staff have come back in until the end of the season. So look, it's a bit of a mess at Watford at the moment. I'm still confident that we can stay in the Premier League, and I really hope we do. And yeah, look, guys, I'm not sure what else to make of the decision. But one thing I do want to point out before I leave, and this is what I do not like with the Pozzos, and I think it happened when Quique was here for the second time as well. It was reported that some of the players and senior staff members actually found out about his dismissal before Nigel Pearson and Craig Shakespeare did, and that just shows that there is something wrong at the club, because players shouldn't be finding out news like that before the person in question himself. So I'm not sure how that got around. And also, I've just remembered one more thing to touch on. It's been quite widely reported that Troy Deeney, he's obviously got his knee injury, his quite serious recurring knee injury. But it's been reported that the club have kind of offered him like a player managerial role, and that he can have more influence around tactics and coaching. So I assume when he's not playing, he might be with Hayden and Graham on the touchline, potentially influencing decisions within our last 2 games against Manchester City and Arsenal. But someone touched on it yesterday, and they kind of said, is this showing that Troy Deeney is potentially getting too big for the club? People think of Watford opposition fans, and they instantly think of Troy Deeney, and maybe his time has come, because when you see a player being appointed to influence tactical decisions, that's really not something I want to see at all. I'd rather he's stuck to his job, and that's scoring the goals for the Hornets to stay in the Premier League. Right, guys, I think I've covered everything there. Let me know if I haven't in the comment section below. We move on to Manchester City on Tuesday, which is a huge game. The best we can hope from that is to not get beaten, 5 or 6-0. I would take something like a 2 or 3-0 defeat. But as I said earlier, if Bournemouth obviously lost to Southampton, if Aston Villa lose as well, and we draw against Manchester City, that is safety secured. So as I said, all we need, hopefully, is a draw. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. We've been shooting up the subscribers lately, so that is very much appreciated. And let me know what you think to this whole situation in the comments below. I've got a Manchester City opposition preview coming out for you on Monday, previewing the game. We've got a fan on from America, actually, a Manchester City fan from America, previewing the game against Watford. And yeah, hope you guys are doing well, and I'll see you next time.